Here are 40 mind-blowing and bizarre facts about ancient Rome, presented without any stars or markdown. Society and daily life. 1. Urine was a valuable commodity. Roman laundries used human urine for its ammonia content to bleach and clean clothes. Urine collected from public latrines was even taxed. 2. They ate stuffed dormice. A delicacy involved fattening dormice in special jars, then roasting and stuffing them. 3. Makeup could be deadly. Roman women used lead-based white paint and chalk to pale their skin, leading to poisoning and illness. 4. Romans believed in curse tablets. They wrote curses on lead tablets, often targeting rivals in court or love, and pinned them to temples or threw them into wells. 5. Public baths were a social hub. People went to the baths not just to get clean but to socialize, exercise, and conduct business. The water, however, was rarely changed. 6. They used a communal sponge instead of toilet paper. In public latrines, a sponge on a stick was rinsed in a water channel and shared by all patrons. 7. Romans invented the first shopping mall. The Trajan's market complex in Rome housed over 150 shops and offices across multiple levels. 8. They had a goddess of sewers. The Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer, was so vital it had its own goddess, Clocina. 9. Wearing purple was illegal for most. The Tyrian purple dye, made from sea snails, was so expensive that its use was restricted to the imperial family. 10. They celebrated a Feast of Fools. The festival of Saturnalia in December involved role reversal, where masters served their slaves and gambling was temporarily legal. Emperors and politics. 11. Over 60 senators were involved in Julius Caesar's assassination. He was stabbed 23 times in a coordinated attack meant to involve many to share the guilt. 12. Emperor Caligula declared war on Neptune. He ordered his soldiers to the sea to collect seashells as spoils of war from the ocean god. 13. He also made his horse a senator. Caligula allegedly planned to make his favorite horse, Incitatus, a consul, likely to mock the political establishment. 14. Emperor Nero performed publicly. The emperor would sing and play the lyre on stage, and audiences were forbidden from leaving until he finished. 15. Commodus fought as a gladiator. The emperor entered the arena hundreds of times to fight, often against disabled or unarmed opponents, and always declared himself the winner. 16. They practiced official damnation of memory, damnatio memoria. Disgraced emperors had their names chiseled off monuments, their statues destroyed, and their records erased. 17. Emperor Elagabalus was notoriously eccentric. He reportedly smothered dinner guests with rose petals and offered a vast fortune to any doctor who could give him female anatomy. 18. The Praetorian Guard often decided emperors. The imperial bodyguard famously assassinated emperors and auctioned the throne to the highest bidder in 193 CE 19. Some emperors were deified after death. A deceased emperor could be voted a god by the Senate, a practice often used to legitimize the rule of his successor. 20. The shortest reign was a matter of days. Emperor Didius Julianus ruled for just 66 days after buying the throne at the Praetorian auction. Engineering and innovation. 21. Roman concrete is stronger than modern concrete. The secret ingredient, volcanic ash, allowed it to strengthen over time, even in seawater. 22. They built the world's first shopping mall. Trajan's Market was a multi-level complex with over 150 shops, taverns, and apartments. 23. The Colosseum could be flooded for naval battles. These mock sea fights used real ships and condemned prisoners who fought to the death. 24. They had a complex aqueduct system. The 11 aqueducts of Rome supplied over 1 million cubic meters of water to the city every day. 25. They invented central heating. The Hypocauste system pumped hot air from furnaces under floors and through walls to heat baths in wealthy homes. 26. They used the first ever public postal system. The Cursus Publicus used a network of relay stations with fresh horses to carry messages across the empire. 27. Romans built the first high-rise apartments. Poor Romans lived in dangerous, poorly built brick and wood tenements called insulae that could collapse or catch fire. 28. They created the first fast food restaurants. Most poor Romans lived in apartments without kitchens and bought their meals from thermopolia, street counters serving hot food and wine. 29. They used giant sundials and water clocks. The Solarium Augusti was a massive sundial using an Egyptian obelisk, covering an area the size of a football field. 30. They had a vast network of roads. All roads lead to Rome was literal. Over 400,000 kilometers of roads connected the empire, many of which are still used today. Military and gladiators. 31. Gladiators were mostly slaves or criminals. They were expensive investments and were rarely killed because of their high training cost. 32. They ate a special diet. Gladiators were called barley men, because their diet was primarily barley, beans, and ash tonic to strengthen bones. 33. Some gladiators became superstars. Successful gladiators were sex symbols. Their sweat and blood were sold as aphrodisiacs and cosmetics. 34. The Roman army used a tortoise formation. The testudo formation involves soldiers locking their shields overhead and on all sides to create an impenetrable shell. 35. They decimated cowardly units. As a brutal punishment for cowardice or mutiny, a unit was forced to draw lots. Every 10th man was clubbed to death by his comrades. 36. Roman soldiers were paid in salt. This is the origin of the word salary, from sal, the Latin word for salt. 37. They built a wall across Britain. Hadrian's Wall, stretching 73 miles, marked the northern limit of the Roman Empire in Britain. 38. Some emperors personally led armies. Trajan, a skilled military leader, expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent through his own campaigns. 39. They used war elephants. Initially encountered as enemies, the Romans later used elephants themselves in certain battles. 40. The standard military pack was incredibly heavy. A legionary's pack, containing tools, weapons, and 2 weeks' rations, could weigh over 100 pounds.